Welcome to the segment where I review movies, past and present, examining them from a variety of perspectives, including the subjective, psychological, and personal. Informative and occasionally funny, this is LoganLand Rants. Welcome. Sorry, I had something stuck in my throat. I'm not sick. Welcome to LoganLand Rants. Sorry for that awkward introduction, and today we're talking about Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox. It's a direct-to-DVD movie who, surprise, surprise, I do know the director for it, never mind. I think it's a guy named Jay Oliva, but don't quote me on that. But the unusual fact that I don't know the director aside, I need to tell you what The Flashpoint Paradox is, because it's pretty obscure compared to the other videos on this channel, knuckles cracking and desk creaking. You see, Flashpoint Paradox is a direct-to-DVD DC Comics movie, which, despite all of that clusterfuck of a statement I just said, it's actually a little more complicated than that. You know, most direct-to-DVD movies, you buy what you're getting, it's cool, it's fun, sometimes empty popcorn entertainment. And this movie? It's cool, it's fun, and it's arguably empty popcorn entertainment. And in this case, I don't really say that with any negative connotations. Not really any positive either. If you're not familiar with the Flashpoint story, both from the comics and from the movies, a superhero named Barry Allen, who's known as the Flash, he has super speed and stuff. The Flashpoint story kind of kicks up when he wakes up to a world pretty different from the one he knows, through time travel mostly. For one, his mother is still alive, Superman never existed, Hal Jordan was never in the Green Lantern Corps, and surprise, Thomas Wayne is Batman. And it's such a cool story that, it presents a lot of endless possibilities for what DC Comics characters could have turned out if things just turned out just a little bit different. But basically, Barry needs to not only get his powers back by recreating the same accident, third time's the charm, he also needs to revert the timeline back to normal and to at least try to prevent World War III from happening in the timeline he's stuck in. Yeah, it's a real pickle. But it's worth noting when I said he got his powers back earlier, and if you're not familiar, in the comics, Barry Allen got his powers because he got struck by lightning and fell into some chemicals. Some people say the lightning had supernatural properties, but that's its own thing. But what's funny is they do that 2 more times in this movie. He tries to recreate the accident, and the second time it burns him pretty badly. Like it would in real life. But third time's the charm and he gets his powers back, because it's worth noting in this timeline he's stuck in, he apparently never became the Flash. But, yeah. And the World War III I mentioned earlier, basically Aquaman and Wonder Woman had an affair, Wonder Woman killed Aquaman's wife, and now they're at war that razed half of Western Europe. It's worth noting Wonder Woman's queen, kind of the queen of the Amazons in this universe. In the main timeline, she's like a princess of the Amazons, which are like Greek immortal warriors or something. If you've seen Wonder Woman, the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, Aquaman is the king of Atlantis, but then again, you all know that. He's actually a lot cooler than he gets credit for. He's not, the fish man. He's actually really strong and bulletproof, it's worth noting. And he has a magic scepter. Trident, sorry. But basically they're in a war that's ransacking Europe and it's not good. It's also worth noting that Clark Kent became Kal-El, whatever you call him, Superman. He became a government experiment, and there's a great moment in the movie and in the comic where the military, after they break Clark Kent out of his prison, which is red sun radiation, it's worth noting that kind of sap Superman's powers similar to, kryptonite, the classic weakness. Also, he's interestingly susceptible to magic, so Gandalf could kill him. You get it. But basically, yeah. I burned a lot of time talking about that, but there's a great moment in the cartoon where it's like ridiculously one-sided, and Superman pretty much within a minute of being under yellow sun for the first time in his life accidentally destroys the entire military attacking him. It's honestly hilarious, but that's what happens when a godlike alien is imprisoned in the government facility for a while, you know what I mean. But now to the film itself. As cool as I've waxed intellectual about my knowledge of the DC universe, I like Marvel too, don't get it twisted. You've seen my previous videos. But the film itself is, pretty niche. Which is probably why it didn't go to theaters, if I'm being honest. I mean, for the, devoted niche that it panders to, I don't really see any reason to complain. I mean, the film is pure, unadulterated fan service that's also action-packed, both of which are arguably to a fault. But there's some really great inventive action scenes, and the final battle is, genuinely effective and emotional. But I think the fan service also partially comes from the fact that it adapts a real-life storyline from the comic books. The Flashpoint storyline is a pretty complicated storyline from the comics where Barry Allen unintentionally reboots as a result of this, time travel nonsense. If you're not familiar with what a retcon is basically like when they go back to an old story and be like, actually, this happened also. We call that a retcon. But short for retroactive continuity, in case you didn't know. But yeah, the fan service, it comes from, the comic books. It comes from but it also comes from the true-to-heart handling of its, really cool characters. I mean, the reboot characters are, for the small or large screen, it's something that I don't think any DC fan could really bemoan, because it's a really effective translation of all that. But, as with most things, there's a caveat, which is that the film probably won't really appeal to the undevoted. And, it could arguably, because it's direct-to-video, it could be a little too quick. I mean, it's an 80-odd minute movie, so that's not a lot of runtime. But, overall, the film is pretty solid, and I think it's really effective when it counts. It's also a surprisingly solid adaptation of an instant classic comic book story. And I'm really glad they managed to get it in movie form, even if it was kind of on the small screen. And it's not a perfect adaptation. Like, they did make some changes that could be good or bad. But ultimately, it works where it needs to work. Though non-DC fans might want to stay away. Anyway, that's my whole 2 cents on the Flashpoint Paradox. Feel free to like, pledge, subscribe, usual stuff. And I'll see you next week with another video. Bye.